One Love Lottery is a new exciting weekly lottery established to help raise funds for our young people aged 17 to 25 and to generate community wealth in the UK. By playing One Love Lottery for just £1 per ticket, you also stand a chance of winning some amazing prizes, including our jackpot of £25,000 each week. Tickets are available from onelovelottery.co.uk or call 0208 183 1832 for more information. Draws are made every Saturday and you can play as many times as you like. Players must be 16 or over and reside in the UK. Please support One Love Lottery today. United we stand, divided we fall. One love.
You got me running, shake it, shake it, shake it, baby. Raise your hands up, raise them up.
Good evening, and welcome to another episode of After Dark. We are going to have conversations today in regards to toxic relationships. Yes, but before we go there, I just want to find out how you're doing. I want to welcome those of you who are on YouTube, those of you who are MediaNet Live TV, and those of you who are on Facebook in our Facebook community. Welcome. It has been a bit of a week already, hasn't it? If you are on the Facebook group, you will know that there's been lots going on, lots of conversation around relationships. And I want to encourage you, if you are not a member of our private members group, make sure that you get the tag, you get the link, and that you join so that you can also be involved in the conversations that are going on within our group. Anyway, so we had some great feedback from last week. Remember, we had Daniel on our show and we talked about letting go. This week, we have another young man. You know, I always call him young man, you know. I always say young man. But we have another young man here. He's been here before. This is the part 2 to the session that we had the other day. And we're going to be talking about toxic relationships. And we're also going to be talking about shoes. Now, we're not going to be talking about shoes from the perspective of using them to hit somebody, you know, in a toxic relationship. You know, you might be tempted to do that, but that violence is never the way. Let me just say that. But we're going to be talking about an event that's coming up as well on the 11th of September. And you are all invited, and it's absolutely free. So if you go onto my page, onto my link, you click the link, and then you will get some information. Put your name, address, and then you will get your free ticket to this event on the 11th of September. And let's face it, no one really wants to stay in house anymore, do they? No, we want to go out. We want to start mingling and meeting people and start socializing and start networking. Anyway, before I even go into the show, let me just remind you about our retreat. The R retreat is coming up on the 29th to the 31st of October. And I am absolutely super excited about it. And as I said last week, Daniel is going to be one of our speakers. And this gentleman here, who I'm going to introduce to you in a moment, is also one of our speakers and is going to be doing some teaching, some workshops to help us to create healthy relationships with ourselves and with others. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome my guest today. Hello, Des.
Yvonne, lovely to have me back again.
Yes. So this is Des O'Connor. It's so nice of you to be here, and we had a lovely time the last time that you were here. I noticed something different about you tonight. You're all
I've comb my hair today.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. You're all suited and booted, looking very handsome this evening.
Thank you.
So, Des, we had a great time. Great feedback of you being on the show.
Thank you. You ran out of time as well.
Yeah, that's right. Because you can chat in it. Had to get that one in after that statement.
I'm going to be quiet tonight then.
No. We want the conversation, and so, we spoke about a lot of things last time, but this time I really want to touch on toxic relationships and how to really avoid them, and the types of things, the feelings, and the anxieties it can bring about to a relationship, and then also the burden. And sometimes, when we're in a toxic relationship, the burden of it, we become frightened and scared to actually go back out into the world and go back and date again. And that fear, which is normally a protective fear, but that fear hinders us from actually having real joy, real love, real peace in that relationship in our life. So I want to kind of talk about that. And I want to talk about some shoes.
Some shoes,
yeah, because I am a typical girly girl. Yeah, I love shoes, handbags, nails, eyelashes, all that kind of lovely things. There's lots of ladies who'll be listening today that want to find out what you're doing with shoes. What's that about? And so, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned to the show today, because we're going to be talking about shoes that make a difference and will make a difference to your life. Yes. So if you're suffering with a corn toe, and when you put the foot in the shoe and it's burning you, you need to stay on and listen. Yeah, you do. Yeah, we've got to bring some humour to it.
Yeah.
So Des, let's just jump in, and let's just go for it. So we've been talking within the group, within the Facebook group that I have, about relationships, and the conversation has really become quite big. In terms of, question was posed: should a mother kind of incite hatred towards the father once they split up? And we know the obvious answer to that is no. However, because of how relationships go, there's a lot of toing and froing, a lot of things that are said, and sometimes it's said over the children. So we're going to kind of take that out a moment. We're going to take the children out for a moment and just deal with the man and the woman, or the partnership, and really go to how they really kind of navigate themselves out of this situation. Because we know, as coaches, and what we do and how we help people, that if people don't really take responsibility for themselves and don't really look at the issues, they just keep going and attracting the same thing over and over again. And toxicity is something that is prevalent in relationships today, unfortunately. We've been living in the lockdown. People have been put together, relationships have broken down, new relationships have been formed. But many people are saying that, they didn't realize the person that they were living with, the person, doesn't talk well to them. And so let's just really talk about the signs from a man's point of view. Because I think we have a higher demographic of women on the group who want to know about men, want to understand how they think. And so I'm putting you on the hot spot today. Let's talk about.
No pressure then.
Yeah, no, well, there is no pressure. You just talk from your own perspective, really, in terms of, what are the things, what is a sign? Let's go there. Boy meets girl on a date.
Yeah.
First date. Is there a sign to say that this person, this man, is toxic? Is there anything?
The man or the woman?
The man.
From the woman.
From what the woman would see, and then we're going to flip it.
So if you met me and we was dating, what signs would there be that you know that I had lots of stuff going on and I was going to bring a lot of toxicity to the relationship? Yeah. I think one of the when I used to run my own seminars, and I used to have a couple of hundred women come in there, and then the men used to come, and I always used to say, find out the relationship with so talking for the woman, if it was me, if I was me and you was dating, find out how my relationship is with my mother.
Right. Okay.
And my sisters, but mainly the mother. That's usually a sign, and the same with the opposite as well, but with the mother. Because if the man has some hatred, some anger towards the mother, what happens then is when you get into turmoil, a disagreement with your partner, and you trigger something within the man,
Mhm.
he's not going to feel that it's just you and him. What then happens then is the pain that he experiences, whether it's the fear or whatever it is that you've triggered with him, he then goes back to that pain.
Right.
And a familiar pain. And it's you, if it came back from his mother, then you're going to get it.
Okay.
You're going to get it. So that's why a lot of people that are going through relationship problems, I went through it personally myself as well. But when people are going through the relationship problems, it's never usually about that person. It's usually something that's triggered them to react that way. And like you said before, they haven't dealt with that. And it's okay. Look, we've all got triggers, we've all got stuff going on, but I think the important thing is being aware of it, being self-aware. This is my stuff. And if you're in a relationship with somebody and they know you've got your issues and you've got your issues and you can manage it, the both of you can manage that. And what I mean by that is me and you are together and I'll be straight. I mean, when my mum passed away in 2003, it took me a long while to get over it. And it caused a lot of problems in the relationship after that. So what then happened then was, if whoever I was with around about the time, if we could manage it and say, okay, this is you having that moment, and then discuss how can we manage it. What is for her to say, what do you want me to do to help you in that situation? Because she could be feeling that she's helping and she could be making it worse. Most men, when they're stressed and they got a lot of things going on, need time out.
Okay.
They need that time out. And most of the time, we don't even know what the solution is. We just need to have, and that's what, it's been quoted as the man cave. The man needs to, and I had so many women that say, when, my man's upset, my boyfriend's upset, he needs time out. And I do it myself. And because we don't know what to do, we don't know how to react. So what we need is just that space.
Okay.
To go through it and work it out. We very rarely talk to another man about it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah?
That's interesting.
Yeah, we very rarely get a man bringing up another man and just saying like what you women do.
Yeah. Because that's typical nature of women.
And one of the reasons why we don't do it because of the ego, and ego. We don't want to be looked as weak, and that's how it's been all along. I never saw my dad being vulnerable, apart from maybe at his brother's funeral or someone's funeral. But I've seen that, so I've never saw him being vulnerable like that. But I had women around me that were vulnerable, that were broken down. So I had sort of the balance. But coming back to what I was saying before is that if you're in that relationship and you and your partner can manage that, and when it triggers, what does need to happen? What does she need to do? If it means that he needs to just go in his room upstairs and play computer games for 2 hours, then so be it. But if that's the case, then between the two of them, you just sort of work that one out. That's one of the areas there as well.
Okay, so there must be a level of understanding of the issue, really, and know, because sometimes there are issues that people go through, and even though they're aware of the issues, they're aware of the pain, they're like, I'm not dealing with that, and so they've got this aura about them. It's like, that's over there, I'm over here, I'm doing that, and you can't come and tell me anything about it. So what you're saying is that both parties have to be at a place where they are communicating, really.
It's the communication, but based on what I know about a lot of people in relationships, in an ideal world, yes, that would be ideal in an ideal world. But then people bring their issues into the relationship. They bring their issues and drama into the mix. And then when you're angry and in the moment, you're not going to. If you're still angry, you're not going to just say, "Okay, I'm going to be calm." So you're right. They need to communicate that and say, when this is happening, this is what's going to be happening, and that's one of the ways to sort of do that.
Okay, so in terms of like for the woman now, she's with this man, he's going through something, he's in his man cave. But then, is it because the relationship may fall down because she feels neglected, maybe because she feels he should be handling it a certain way? She's used to seeing men being this brawn, nothing bothers me. I'm this big macho man, and I can carry the weight of the world on my shoulders. And so he's gone in this man cave, or not. He might have gone out, right? Because man cave is quite a new thing, as far as I know. It's quite a new thing. So you're going in this man cave. At least you're in the house, so she knows. Well, he's there. But what if he's going out and he's just, we had a little while ago, it was a few months back, we had somebody say, a man actually say, men just want to be able to go out with their boys, go on holiday, do their thing, and not have this woman moaning at them. But the women were not respondent to that,
No, they would.
and they don't understand that. Because they were seeing that, well, that's quite childish. That's quite, are you 21? Are you like? So when that comment was made, it was frowned upon within the group, and we know that most people in this particular group are 40 upwards, right? So what would you say to a woman whose man is it necessarily a red flag if he's going out and he's with his boys and he's doing that thing where he's not really paying no mind? Is that really?
The thing is, when you first meet someone, and I mean, we all know, if we look back in lots of our previous relationships, you got to be careful what you define as a red flag and react, because people are always going to trigger stuff with you. Every relationship you're going to have, someone's going to upset you. So what are you going to do? Just jump. And it comes back to what you said originally. It's about the communication. Now, unfortunately, and I've done it and I've experienced it before, when a man gets stressed and he's time out or wants to do what he wants to do, unfortunately, the woman wants the opposite. She wants to talk now. She wants to deal with it now. So what you see, there's two opposites happening. And then if it doesn't come to a happy medium, it's just going to escalate and escalate and escalate. And then she's then upset, brings one of her girlfriends or whatever, and the girlfriend may be fueling it even more.
Right.
Or he's just gone out and just went for a drive for 2 hours, may go to the pub or do whatever he has to do. And then the thing about it is, the strange thing about it is, when that happens with us, and when we go out and can you picture this? The woman's at home, stressed, wants to speak to him. He's not taking her calls. She feels neglected, and all these things are going into her head, and she's all these things are going into her head and winding herself up. And it could be just that he's just gone and done what he's done. But when he comes back and he puts the key in the door, if he sorted out what that issue is, as far as he's concerned, there's no problem. So when he comes in, he says, "Okay, babe, like everything's fine." In those 2 hours or whatever time it is, she wants to kill him.
I'm laughing already. Yeah.
We've all been there. We've all been there, and it happens. It happens. So it all, like you said it in the beginning, it all comes down to that, to that communication, because it might be that he likes to go away and take his time out, because that's what he's always done growing up. He's had that space in his room where if he had arguments with his siblings or his mum, he'd be able to go out into his room and just lock off from everybody and put his headphones on and switch off. So why, if that's what he's conditioned to as a young person, why would he change unless he's aware of it? Because as far as he's concerned, he's acting normal. This is how I've always dealt with my stuff. So then you see what I mean? So then what happens then, that's how he's always done that. And that's why therapy is really good, because when you go therapy, you identify things about yourself, first of all, that you did. When I was married and we went to therapy, there was things that I didn't realize I was carrying for years. Yeah. And they got brought up in the session, and it was linked with whatever it was. And I believe that we all have issues. We're all carrying stuff going along. Yeah. And I think a lot of us are not dealing with it. And a lot of us frown upon therapy, frown upon coaching, and thinking that it's going to cover the cracks and everything's going to be okay until it surfaces again and they get triggered again. And like you said, you don't. And then it's easy to just jump from. I remember Tony Robbins said it's all right jumping from relationship to relationship, but you're carrying you with you.
That's right. And each relationship, you're carrying that next relationship. Yep. The last relationship into that relationship, into that. Do
you remember when I was on last time and I asked the question to the people that were on the show, and I asked them if I was to ask your exes what they loved and disliked about you?
Yeah, really.
And that would be a sort of a pattern. Possibly, I'm not exact on a T, but it gives you an idea. So if you're sitting there thinking, I don't know, I'm single and I don't know why I'm single, and I want to understand me, I don't really want to go therapy, but I just wish someone could just say, look, these are your issues that you need to deal with. Then have a reflect back on your last however many relationships and just jot down what they used to complain about. What are the main things that they used to complain about? And you need to be in a place where you're open and honest to accept that.
Yeah.
And because one of the things I say to people is that you can lie to everybody else, but you can't lie when you look in the mirror. You're lying to yourself.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who still do that, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. More than the ones that are aware. Believe me.
And I think that that's probably where the toxicity starts to take root in the person, because they're not actually dealing with who they are. And so everything is kind of like a facade. It's quite fake. And I think in terms of, in some cases, because a person has these traits, they try to hide them at first. And then after a while, because you can only be yourself.
Yes. And also, unfortunately, with men, we don't talk about it. We don't express how we feel. Women are more likely to do that, but we don't. And I think it's damaging. I think that there needs to be a place where a man should be able to express themselves, unless they've got someone that they can talk to, that they can open up to. So then what then happens then, if the man is not dealing with it or letting it out, it needs to come out somewhere else, whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, or whatever it is that he wants to use for that. And that's why it's so important for men. I mean, look at the mental health rate, the suicide rate with the men.
Yeah.
I bet if you investigated or looked at the reasons why, I bet there was lots of unresolved issues within them.
Yeah.
And all they need was someone just to talk to. Never underestimate that conversation with someone.
No.
Because I've had people speak to me recently. Sometimes they just need someone just to know that they're there.
Yeah.
As a sounding board.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah. Because I think everybody wants to be heard.
Of course.
I think it's a human need. As a matter of fact, I was having this conversation yesterday with someone who's coming on the show to talk about suicide prevention, actually.
Okay.
Because of the rise. Now, I know at the beginning of the pandemic, suicide rates went up to 100%. So I think we're on the lines of something like 350%. And the majority of that is within the males.
Yes.
And the high percentages of black males as well.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we are dealing with something that we really need to take a stop and think, okay, what is going on here? And it might be in terms of relationships as well. I'm not saying that that's the main reason, but I think that because people have been in relationships and then just gone and just done whatever, and then it's this whole big shock. What was it about that relationship? Why is it the person doesn't feel that they can talk? We have to kind of make bigger platforms for especially men, I think, so that they can talk and feel that they are valued and they are heard. But coming back to toxicity, I want to say that in most case scenarios, we will hear women talking about men being toxic, right? But I want to say today that it's not just men who are toxic. There are many, many, many women out there who are just oozing. It's just coming, it's just flowing, right?
You can pick up their energy sometimes.
Yeah, you can. And so, because I want to create some kind of balance here, because I know that there's lots of people talking, and it's, you're hearing a lot of, women are this, and men are this, and men are this. But I want to bring about a balance to the conversation, because there is good and bad in both. And there's narcissistic behavior in both men and women. And I think it's, to a degree, we are led to believe it's only men that bring that.
Yeah.
And it's not.
No, definitely not.
And so in this conversation, what we're having, even though we're talking about, I've asked you from a male perspective, we're going to be bouncing from both. Because I think it's important. And from some of the conversations that I see go on in the group, I'm like, okay, we really need to go into this a little bit deeper. And dare I say that, and I say this in love, we are not going to have any female victims here today, right? And I know that may not come across very well, but because I want this to be balanced, I want this conversation to be balanced and people to know, we've got lots of conversations going on here in the group. So we will go to the comments now. If you do have any questions directly for Des, please put it on the comment thread. We will have our panel coming in at the top of the hour. We're having our panel. We've got 3 people on panel today coming to talk to us and to ask questions. And also do remember, I'm just going to plug the retreat again. And at the top of the hour, we will run the advert for the retreat, which is happening in October. So coming back to the conversation about toxicity. For men, I'm going to flip it now because comments have been made. I don't want to go into what has been said, but there's comments been said about certain women. And so I'm like, okay, as a man, what could you say to another man and say, right, if you see a woman like this, walk the other way? Because we know that most people, some people, a lot of people, when they date people, they are dating the same person with a different name, different face, might be a different color, but it's the same person. The traits are the same because we attract certain things. So what would your advice be to Joe Blogs, who says that all women are, they just want your money, they don't value you as men, they're just after what they can get, and they always treat them bad? What would you say to that man?
Well, first of all, I'd ask him, one of the first questions I'd ask him is, define how they treat you badly, first of all. So then he would go into that. And then I'd say to him, okay, and I'd ask him, why does he feel that this is happening to him? Because I want to try and understand where he is and why he feels he's attracting that type of person. And then I'd ask him, okay, so are you then saying that all women are bad? Are all women are angry? Then I'd ask him, talk to me about the females in your family, whether his mother wasn't around or whoever it was. When I made reference to the mother, if the mother's not around, then it's obviously the female, the most important female in his life around that time that was important to him. Now, based on that answer, you'll be able to pick up a lot of things. So if he's very angry and he hated that significant female that was in his life and he's angry and you can pick up on that, it's a strong possibility it's going to come out in his relationships if he hasn't dealt with that. So if he came to me, if anybody came and said that to me, I know for a while it would have been nothing to do with the women. It'd be to do with his unresolved issues. He's carrying some stuff around with him that he's not even aware of, and he's just going from like that. When somebody generalizes like that and say all, they got a lot of stuff going on there, because we know it's not all. So was your sister, was your mother, was your auntie, your grandparent, were they, because that's a woman as well, are you saying they're all like that? And then you get into sort of look at it from a different perspective. But unfortunately, in that conversation, you can't fix that person.
No.
And you can't. I remember when I started coaching and I was going out there, and when I qualified as a coach, and I said, oh, I'm going to go out there and save the world and fix everybody, because if I just say to do this, you're going to do it. If I say to read this book or do this course, you're going to apply it in your life. And it doesn't really work like that, because people have got their stuff going on that's preventing them from even taking that first step. So maybe the first step would be maybe a hug. Maybe the first step, if they don't read, what do? You give them a video or invite them to an event or whatever. It all starts with that first step. But they've got to be aware. And unfortunately, Yvonne, what's happening is a lot of people are not aware, or they are aware, or they're terrified of dealing with it.
Yeah.
They're so afraid to deal with their stuff that it's easy just to park it. It's easy to say, I'm just going to stay here and no one's not going to know. But it always comes out, because like I said, you're going to get that trigger. Something's going to happen that's going to take you back to that pain. And then you're going to react as though you're in that place.
Right.
But you're not in that place. But the way that you're reacting to it, you can't tell the difference, because you're dealing with the pain and the anger and all the things that are going on in your head. So that person's gonna be triggering it. So if the man comes to me and he's like that, and I have to subtly, just gently, that's why I use the comparison of talking about, I say, who was important to you in your life as a female growing up? He said, oh, well, if his mum's not around, oh, where's my auntie? Oh, did you love her? He goes, yeah, I get him talking about her. But she's not bad though, is she? Well, no, but okay, and who else? Oh, well, my cousin. Okay, what was she? And then all of a sudden he's got 2 or 3 people. I said, no, come on, not all of them are like that. And then he try and make them look at it. Then it depends on if he's open to see that, because as you know, sometimes you speak to people, they shut down. Yeah. I only see that, and that's that. And you got to tread really carefully. Yeah. Because you could be triggering stuff with them, by you don't want to be taking them down, and that's why a professional therapist would know how to deal with that. Us coaches are not qualified. Coaches help you from where you are, from where you want to get to. Yeah, we don't go back into the past. I remember that's one of the most important things with studying as coaching. If you find someone that's got some stuff, refer them to a therapist, and that's what I do. Okay. Because you don't want to be responsible for somebody doing something really bad to themselves. No, that's very, very true. If you are qualified, then fair enough, and do that. But and in terms of coaching, that's very true. So I hear in my head, I'm hearing here, but what about us? What about these men who don't want us to do anything? They just want us to just sit there and look pretty for them, and and they make us feel good in one moment and bad in another. They make us feel like we're so special. And we've just met, and I feel, oh, this guy is this is the one, he makes me feel all giggly inside, and but then on the flip side of that, he has a dark side to him. What do you say to a woman who is like, but I really like him, but there's just something about him, can't put my finger on it, something about him? What do you say to her? I'd ask her, what do you think that is? And she may say, oh, I just can't. I can't figure it out. I know there's something, and I'd get her to explain that, because it may not be something. It might be something that he's just reacting normally, how he does his things, and yet again, it's triggered something within her. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So then she's blaming him, and I guarantee if she meets another guy, and if he's not doing that, it'll be something else similar. It'll trigger her, and then she's going to be going through that same feeling again. So I'd find out what it was. What she was a client. So what is it? What is it that you're worried about? You're concerned? And she goes, oh, he might be that. Oh, I think he's womanizing because he's his phone's always switched off. And then we break it down and we go through it. And then her ex used to do the same thing. So, and he's just switching off his phone because he's on it all day and he wants to spend quality time with her. And he switched it off, but to her, it looks as though he's hiding something. Right. And he's not hiding anything. So would you say that we actually create the toxicity within our own minds first? One of the things that, and I say this to clients and I say it at my events, it is so important what conversation you have with yourself. You can go to a therapist and you could do all the other things, but when it comes down to it, the only person you're going to be talking to is you. Yeah. So you can either talk good things to yourself or talk yourself down, or talk empowering, positive, uplifting things to yourself to uplift you. I go for it. I've got to check myself sometimes. Think, what's going on here, Des? Come on. What is really going on here? It's to do with A, B, C, D. Instead of, and I'm human. I go off the rails and what have you not. But never. Yeah, only once a year. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Liverpool lose on worse, but dear. Which is very rare. Really? Apart from last season. But they need to, and this is what I was saying about, with the mental health with the men. Can you imagine if they had some form of coping mechanism to deal with their stress, to deal with their issues, whatever they had going on? And it might be that, look how many men are in prison just for that split second. If they had something that they could use in their mind, count to 10 before I'm going to react. But it's easy said than done. But what needs to happen is they need to be practicing that on a daily basis. Absolutely. So when it does happen, they can manage it. How many people are inside now that wish they just had a coping mechanism to count to 10 or to do something to just switch their way across from that? And they reacted and then now they're inside for life, and they wish that they did that, and it's too late. So it all boils down to what conversation are you having with yourself, and leading up to that, what are you feeding your brain with? What are you feeding your mind with on a consistent basis? Is it toxic? Is it empowering? Is it uplifting? Think about the times when you watch a movie, for example, and it's a funny movie or it's a good movie and you feel good. You don't really feel angry or stressed from that. And it's the same thing if you're entertaining conversations with people that are toxic. Toxic people really like to talk to toxic people because they can share their stories. There's a rapport there, and they can spend, and we've all done it, hours on the phone, slating, saying negative things about people. And I think when I started doing the coaching, what I realized was that when someone used to speak toxic to me, it rings like a bell in my head, like an annoying sound that used to go on. So what I would do is just say, look, I'm busy at the moment, I'll call you back.
Right.
And I don't call them back because I know they want to pile on all their stuff to me.
Right. They want to vomit on you.
Yeah,
really.
they want to vomit on you. So then they go and find somebody else that's in the same place as them, and they keep going and going, where they could just listen to Louise Hay or watch something to inspire them.
Yeah.
But if they're not, I remember when I got involved with personal development in 2006.
Okay.
I never knew about personal development.
No.
I never knew about it. And it's only my daughter's godfather, when I was going through same sort of thing in my divorce, I was angry, I was blaming her and all this. And he said to me, you need to get involved with personal development. I said, what do you mean? What's that about? And he goes, yeah. So he sent me a load of these tapes, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and all of that. And I remember I was listening to the tapes. Back then it was tapes.
Yeah.
And there was this line I remember. Can you imagine you're in that toxic place and you've never experienced any form of self-help, and you're just used to just cursing your ex to other people, right? And this program's telling you got a problem, that's good. And I'm like, what the hell is good about this? She's stressing me out. I'm going mad in here and she's stressing me out. And what they were trying to get you to look at is look at yourself. And look at what's good about this situation. What have you learned from yourself about the situation and not the other person? And I think over the years, I kept absorbing myself with those things into my mind and keep pushing those things into my mind. So when I was holding my events, I could see someone in that place and guide them.
Right.
So when I get clients and they are feeling in that place, I said to them, buy that book. Go and just buy that book. And when you've read that book, tell me what you've learned about you, not about your exes, about you.
Right.
So they have to then come back and answer me what they've learned about themselves. And then what have you learned about your past relationships now? And then they say, oh, well, I've attracted the wrong men in my life because of A, B, C, D. So then they've realized.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a good first step.
Yeah.
Whether it's not a book, it could be an audio program, it could be a YouTube clip. I usually say to people, okay, watch that clip and tell me what you learned about you from there. Yeah. Oh my God. So I remember when I first was immersed into personal development and I went to a seminar, I absolutely loved it. I was craving for that. And I wish I knew about all this stuff 20 years before.
Yeah.
Because, I wouldn't have made a lot of the mistakes that I've made before.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's easier said than done. But at the end of the day, when someone keeps attracting toxic people in their life, it starts from them.
Absolutely.
It's got nothing to do with the people, because they're allowing them to come into their life.
Right.
They're allowing to be treated how they want to be treated.
Yeah.
And sometimes some of us that attract that feel comfortable with that. They like that in a strange way, believe it or not. And sometimes there comes a point where it needs to stop. And sometimes it needs to get to the point where they can't do anymore, and then they feel they have to go and seek help.
Right.
But by then, a lot of things would have happened up until that point. So that's why from the early stages, like what you said about the woman that's saying, oh, he's angry, or the guy that's asked me about the guy who says all women, I would guide him to get some help as soon as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Self-reflection, powerful thing, right? Yeah, because that's what we're talking about, self-reflection. Listen, guys, those of you who are just joining us, this is Des O'Connor. He is our guest this evening, and we are talking about toxicity, and we are going to be talking about shoes. Yes, we're going to merge the conversation. But I want to go to some of the comments here, because we have our Facebook group, we have our group who are on YouTube as well. And so we want to find out what they are saying.
Who are they?
We,
Who are hiding?
so, guys, if you are in a group, if you're seeing this in a group, please, at the top of the group, it will say something like StreamYard wants your details, wants your permission. If you click that, then we will be able to see who you are. Otherwise, it comes up as Facebook user. Right. Okay, so Facebook user has said, nonsense. If the mother is abusive or dysfunctional, that has nothing to do with the man. Okay,
Do you want
then.
to answer that?
Yes.
I've already answered that in the beginning where I said, if it's not the mother, then somebody else. Then, so if this person doesn't have the mother around, then who else? You need to look at someone who's close to him, which I did say in the beginning as well. Somebody who's close to him as a female growing up, and listen to how he talks about that person. Okay, so if the mother's dysfunctional and he's dysfunctional, then she's contributed. Of course, she's going to contribute towards that.
Yeah.
So whether or not the mother is dysfunctional or not, he's going to bring those issues ongoing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if that's imposing him as a young boy growing up and he hasn't dealt with it, if the mother's dysfunctional, there's a high probability that he's going to be dysfunctional as well.
Agreed. A high probability, not in every case, but in most case scenarios, I would have to agree with you there. Can we see a next? Okay. Oh, plus I know Caribbean men from our generation who weren't brought up with their mothers, including one of your panelists. What has that got to do with their relationship with their partner? In most cases, nothing. Oh dear.
Let me read that again.
You read it again.
Plus, I know a lot of Caribbean men from our generation who weren't brought up with their mother. Right. So I did say in the beginning, females that are close to that person. So obviously, if it's not the mother,
it might be the grandmother,
it might be the granny,
the auntie.
might be the auntie, it might be the sister. So I think I've answered that one, don't I think?
Yeah. I think that Facebook users need to take a little bit of time with themselves. People often engage in toxic behaviors when they are coping with some underlying problem, such as history of trauma. People with narcissistic tendencies sometimes show a pattern of manipulation, gaslighting, controlling behavior that involves both verbal abuse and emotional manipulation. And it's not always men. Narcissism came from parents Narcissism can come from parents or be a woman too. Stigma focuses on men a lot. I think we mentioned that. I did. Yeah. So I think what Facebook user is doing is actually agreeing with what some of things has been said. How did I know? Oh, okay. So let's go up a bit. We're not going to go to that one. No. But I mean down. Thank you, guys. Okay. Let's see that one. My comment was about the guests. Was that? I can't even see. Do you know what? This would help. Oh, no, it doesn't help, actually. Right. Let me just go here. The comment about the guests is that men's relationship with his mother is an indication of how he will treat his new partner in the future. Right. Okay. So I think from a psychological point of view, we know that how our parents treated us, in certain case scenarios, is we have certain traits. I know for me personally that there are some things as an adult now that I have to kind of backtrack and think, that's my dad.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And as much as I'm like, I'm not like my dad, there are certain behaviors, if we are honest.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and we have to get to a place where we become honest.
And that's what I said. You look in the mirror. I mean, everyone has their opinion on that. But even myself, when I used to discipline my children sometimes, that was my mum telling me.
Right.
So, and I think we've all been there we've all been there. I mean, there's different levels of that, and you're right in sort of saying that. Oh my God, that's what used to happen. I mean, I think one of my mum's pet hates was she, always keep the lights on in the house.
Yeah.
And we all, because as a child, you're not paying the electricity bill.
Yeah.
And she used to say, see the gas bill, 200 on her phone. It was a red letter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember she used to keep saying that. So when you got kids in the house and they don't have any conscience or awareness of the bills or anything.
No, they don't.
They come out of their room, leave their light on, go in the bathroom, leave their light on, the passage light on, the kitchen, and the lights on all day. Yeah. And then when the bill comes in, it's high. And then obviously when I'm in a relationship and in a house, you're gonna say the same things. Turn up. Why is the turning off the light so important to me? Do you see?
Yeah.
Because as a young child, that's what was hammered in at me. And just imagine all the other things that used to happen for other people that were a lot more. I wouldn't even say that's toxic, but no, but yeah,
but it's an everyday thing, an example of life, isn't it?
Yeah, and I believe that people that everybody has their opinion, but I guarantee that you go to your therapist, and your therapist goes deep within your childhood. There's going to be things they're going to identify with your upbringing that's causing problems within your relationship.
Absolutely,
right, and. Everyone's got their opinion, but I know that for a fact. You go and sit down with your therapist, because if people have had therapy, they wouldn't be saying those type of things. They will be saying, yeah, actually, there's a point, because you are reacting how you're reacting. It comes from somewhere, all right? So if it hasn't come from your upbringing, where has it come from? Because you haven't just woke up and been that person. It's come from somewhere. So when you go to therapy and you're dealing with all these, they're going to say, oh, let's talk about your childhood. Let's talk about the relationship with your father. How was that? Oh, I hated my dad. And right. So that's an area there we need to deal with. Let's speak about your mother. Let's talking about your mother or the significant other, the female that was in your life. Oh, I hated her as well, and she was this and that and the other. Okay, so we've got an area we need to work through and then sort of deal with that.
And we know, because as you was talking, what came to me is that child state. Because you remember you're talking about some men, like, they like to go in the man cave and, and when you think about it, and when you ask them when they were younger, they'd go to their room, their space.
It comes from somewhere.
Yeah, a lot of the time we go back into behaviours from our past.
Of course.
And so we have to recognise that we do that in order for us to move forward.
That's right.
And to create change.
And once you identify, then you can deal with it, and then you can move on. And then when you're aware, then you won't react. Because what we're doing, we're just reacting. If you just take a step back and say, actually, right, that is my stuff. I'm going to deal with it a different way and manage that. And if you don't feel that you can talk to your partner about it, that's fine at that moment in time. But you have to deal with it within yourself. Immerse yourself in personal development, reading, audio programs. YouTube is free. Type in what your issue is. There's going to be experts on there that are telling you how you can deal with it. So you don't have to worry about anybody knowing that you've got stuff going on. If it's a financial thing, or is it a pride thing, or whatever it is, there's books you can get. No one doesn't know that you're reading that particular book. There's YouTube clips that you can just type in there. There's a lot of self healing videos with Louise Hay. I send that to everybody and all my clients, and she just makes you feel better.
She does.
And that's what you want, that feeling of better. Some of us just need that hope. Someone just needs someone to say, it's going to be okay.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
That's all someone needs. Yeah. That's some of the first step. Because if everyone around you that's making you feel that it's not going to be okay, or, whatever you got going on, but someone just says to you, you're better than that. Come on, you can do better than that. That ain't you. Sometimes we need that, And you'd be surprised, especially for men, you get that. I mean, I had that a lot growing up with my mother and my sister. So, I was always told that. That's why when I'm speaking to people and I'm just saying, I can see they've got stuff going on. I say, look, come on, you're better than that. Would you like to see yourself this time next year? And it goes, I want a new job. And what's the first thing you can do to get there? Oh, I don't know. Well, guess one thing. Well, I could read or go and study or do something in the direction that you want to move towards that. And that's all it takes. And then the whole mindset shift. That's why when people speak on my stage for the first time and they're nervous and they lack, they're nervous and they lack confidence. Once they overcome that fear, all the other areas of their life
Yeah.
just everything, there's a shift.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything
just
sort of
falls into place.
falls into place.
Yeah.
But you need to keep on top of it.
Mm.
Don't just do it as a one-off and thinking, oh yeah, I'm okay. It's
No.
like, if you're ill and you take some tablets and you're okay, you got to make sure that you're eating healthy and looking after yourself and exercising and all those things to maintain that. So it's all about keeping it maintained.
Consistency is key, right?
Oh, definitely. Get into a habit of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You keep that in mind. So those of you who are listening and you're thinking, oh, I'm in this situation, and I'm not even talking about your relationship. I'm talking about your relationship with relationship with anyone else. I'm talking about your relationship with yourself. And you identify with some of the things that we've been talking about, some of the things that Des has pointed out. And if you do want help, you can contact us on info@yvonnemichelle.com. I should put my my email address up so that you can get in contact and get some help straight away. So if you want to contact Des, you can just use the email and I'll pass on the details to Des. So that's info@yvonnemichelle.com. That's my email address. So if you are finding that you are in a certain situation and you feel that there's a lot of toxicity within you, we're not talking about no one else, within you, then please do. And everything is confidential. It's not that we're going to come in next week and say, oh, do you know what? No, it's not that. It's not that way at all. Everything is done confidentially. And so as we're talking, a thought came to my mind about a situation, young lady in a situation with a young man, and she's feeling trapped in the relationship, and she wants to know, when is it time to leave a toxic relationship? She feels that the relationship is going in that direction. She feels trapped. She feels unsure. She's scared of him. When is the time, would you say, for, and vice versa? Because this could be a man, because there are plenty of men. I'll give another scenario: married man, wife likes a little bit of drink, smokes a little bit, gets very angry, and lashes out. When is and that's actually a letter that we've had. We've actually had that letter that comes to mind. A young man, married, young child, wife is very, very toxic, constantly arguing, smokes, drinks, and wants to know, what do I do? When do I call time out? When do I say it's enough? If we're married and I really want my marriage to work, what do I do?
Well, one of the things that needs to happen there is if she finds or he finds that they cannot communicate, and we all have different levels of toleration. So it's very easy for me to say, well, he or she should get to that point and do this. And when I'm speaking to people, I never tell them what they should do, for one. And because you're not living the life that they're living. And so if someone's going through that situation, there's lots of steps that they can do to help the situation. Now, if they both don't want to, and I used to say this, if you got people in those situations and they don't, it's usually the woman that wants to get therapy, used to do therapy. It's usually the woman that wants to go therapy, and the man usually goes along just to sit there because she's dragged him. If you hear men saying, "Oh, I've dragged me along here," he doesn't really want to be there, and he has the wrong mindset to go because she wants to go to help resolve the situation. Whoever has the issues, whoever has it's going on, they both need that help.
Yeah.
And I think when you go to the therapy, it usually helps in either that they've got steps to help bring them together, or sometimes therapy makes you realize that I should have left this years ago, or I should have left. Why am I still hanging around? But then that person needs to take that responsibility. So I would always advise people to get help, try and go together. If one doesn't want to do it, then it comes back to that person to make a decision what they want to do, especially if there's children involved, lots of finances, and it's toxic and it's that horrible environment, and especially bringing up children in that environment. If one person, if it's bad, I mean, let's be honest now, to get to therapy is bad. People in a relationship, when they go to therapy, it's going to be bad. If one doesn't want to do it,
Mhm.
because then it gets taken into the bedroom. Obviously, the sex life gets reduced. People might be looking to look elsewhere, and all those things get involved with that.
Mm.
But then they could have just spoke to somebody, and then they've got steps, and then they've got a focus, and then they've got goals and what they need to do. And it might be that they just need that time out, and because the therapist will be able to identify what is actually going on, and it's usually something that's going on that the other person can't see. So, because when you go to therapy, the work, I mean, I've been there, right?
Yeah.
I've been there many a times, and it's very difficult to sit there and listen to somebody, your partner, talking to a professional about you, but they're tearing you to pieces. Just picture that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then if you've been hearing a lot of that in the home, anybody's going to react and defend themselves. But picture this: you're you're in therapy. The therapist is over there, and you're just saying, "Oh, he's lazy. He drinks. You can't communicate to him." And then you can't say anything. The person to shut up and take it on board. I'm taking notes. Me, when I'm there, I'm going to say that. I'm going to deal with that. But it's either going to then it's your turn. But then that's what usually happens when you first go. And then if you can get over that mark, and then it's like, okay, the therapist can say, well, I've heard John's side and I've heard Sally's side. And then one of the key questions she's going to say is, how badly do you two want this to work?
Yeah.
Right. That's what it boils down to. Do you, on a scale of 0 to 10, how well do you want this to work? Do you still love her? Right. And then what then happens then is it takes them back. They usually, if it's a good therapist, it would take them back to talk me through how you two first met. So then the brain goes back and focuses on the good times when they first met.
Yeah.
And then build up on that. And you think, why do you think you've gone off at a tangent? What's happened? And then he'll say, well, because she's busy. And as we most probably know, when children come into the mix, it's a different
relationship
changes completely. And especially if they used to be by themselves, just them two for X amount of years, and then a baby comes involved, she's tired. If they're used to having daily sex, and then that's affected because she's too tired and all of that, and then it goes into the mix, then he feels neglected, but we don't talk about it, and then there's all of that. So when they go to therapy now, the therapist would suggest, well, why don't you get babysitter, get childcare, and go away for a weekend and reconnect back and get the positive solution. So I know it's a long-winded answer, but if a couple is going through whatever they're going through, get help out there. It's out there for you, and you can get it on Zoom now. So
you don't even have to go anywhere now.
So if you've got children and you haven't worried about childcare, I still believe one-on-one is better. Yeah, because you can, you're there and you can pick up the energy and feel the energy and all that as well. But back to your question, whatever it is going on, it's a sign to seek help. It's a sign to work on you. And I remember when I went therapy when I was married, and when what got brought up for me, it took me back to my childhood about something, and I actually broke down, and I was carrying this around for me for 30 years, and I didn't know. Right.
So unconsciously, you were carrying.
I was carrying it, and the trigger was what the trigger was, and I didn't realize I was carrying it until we was having therapy, and then that got brought up, and it was like, she said to me, "Well, tell me about A, B, C, D," and I was like, "Wow, like that was deep stuff." And we all are carrying stuff around us subconsciously. We're not aware of it until that trigger, and that trigger happened with me, and then I was like, "Wow." But I knew it was there. Do you know what I mean? I knew I was carrying it around all these years, never discussed it with anybody. And then it just got triggered. It got brought up, and then I was
open, raw, bare for you to deal with it. And sometimes, guys, ladies and gentlemen, when we are triggered, it is for us to deal with it there and then. And maybe you didn't have the tools. You didn't have the tools to deal with it before that time. Maybe that's why it never came up. I always believe that.
I didn't think it was a problem. I didn't think it was a problem.
Okay.
I knew it was something I wasn't too happy about. But sorry to interrupt you, but I didn't realize it was that bad, and I never spoke about it. So it was just parked.
Right.
It was just parked somewhere. And then the opportunity came when, that's what I'm saying about the triggers. And then it was, I wasn't blaming my ex-wife at the time. It had nothing to do with her.
Right.
Right? Because it always is your stuff.
It is your stuff.
And then, I thanked her for it in the end. I said, I didn't even realize I was carrying this around with me. And it makes you wonder what other stuff you got carrying on. Yeah. But then you need to be honest with yourself and be open. Because, if you shut it, it's going to come out somewhere. That's why people are getting ill. Because they're not dealing with, you need to let it out.
Yeah, because that was something that Daniel mentioned last week. He mentioned about, we were talking about letting go last week.
Yeah.
But he mentioned about ailments, being ill, and it being connected to those feelings and those thoughts, unconsciously or conscious thoughts that we have, we carry within ourselves. So we know that this is a true thing. So what I want to say, ladies and gentlemen, to those of you who are listening, is if you find that you're being triggered by the conversation, that you know that there's something within you that you want to bring about change. Des is here, and you're open to them contacting you as well, aren't you?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Because what I want to make very, very certain and clear about this show, this is about us learning. It's not just about, we're going to come and just have a conversation and just talk about toxicity and then talk about shoes. We actually want you to be able to take something away from these shows, have a learning experience with it. So hold on. So DS says what's very important to mention in this conversation is the subconscious programming. I think we touched on that we are subject to at the age of 0 to 7, and our reactions often reflect that programming that we are not aware of. Yes, which is yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, DS, and we're thanking you for the comments. Keyboard warriors at the ready. Just
one at the top. How long does the man stay in his cave for? As long as it needs to be.
Yeah.
Depends how upset he is.
Yeah. But it's. I think nowadays it's a good thing. You look out in the garden and think, well, look, I'd put a little cave at the back there. Anytime you're ready.
There's this image. Someone sent me this joking image about there's this man cutting a grass with a little pair of scissors. And the slogan says, my wife wants to have a conversation with me when I come in.
Oh no! It's taking forever. I'm not going in there.
When a man hears a woman says, "Oh, we need to talk."
Yeah, they say that.
Yeah.
So find another way of saying we need to talk.
When's a good time to speak to you?
I actually don't want to talk to you. Actually, I've got nothing to say to you. You're all right with that? They'll be like, "Why?" In there with a conversation. Yeah. There you go. I don't want to talk to you. Oh, there you go. Laura Hill says, if you get triggered by things, it shows that you are unhealed. There are unhealed parts of yourself. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Thank you for those comments. Let those comments keep coming, guys. Let the comments keep coming. So we are at the top of the hour. So what's going to happen is we're going to go to an advert, and then we're going to come back in, and the panel is going to join us, and we're going to open up this conversation, and we're going to be talking about Des's shoes as well. Okay, so when we're ready. Welcome to the R Retreat, located at Northamptonshire's Whittlebury Hall complex. A 4-star hotel providing a luxury spa and golfing experience with the finest food and sports facilities. Absolutely everything that you could ask for to relax and recharge. But not only that, we have provided the best relationship and well-being speaker experts to empower you, to give you tools, tips and strategies of how to develop and grow your own relationships with self and with others. So come and recharge, re-energize, realign and rebuild. Book your place today at the R Retreat, Whittlebury Hall, Northamptonshire. This is the time for you and you alone to give back to you. Go on,
Catch
Dash
it. Catch it then. Right.
And we're back. Yes, so you see our retreat is there and we are going to have a fantastic time. Des is going to be one of our speakers. He's going to be talking on a lovely subject. I'm sure it's how to find your ideal partner. I was going to say how to find your man, but this is not just for women. And we'd like to invite the men to come in. Next week, actually, we will be talking about, next week, we'll have, we've got Red Letter Tuesday. And Red Letter Tuesday is where the people who watch the show randomly will write in letters about their dilemmas. So we've got a couple of letters for next week, but we're also going to be talking about the retreat and what the benefits are for the men, especially, and why they should be there at the retreat. And, you know, we've got our panel will be in and you will get to meet Theo. Theo is going to be our MC over the weekend. And so you're going to get to meet him in person. I'm hoping that he will be in the studio next week as well. So without further ado, I am going to invite the panel in today. So can we see who we've got in the green room today? Hello, Michelle. Michelle, how are you? You're muted.
Hello, both of you. How are you?
Hello,
Very well,
Mish,
thank
Mish.
you.
Great, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Lovely to have you here, Mish.
Thank you.
Who else do we have in the green room? Hello, hello, hello.
Hey guys, how you doing? Lovely to see you both again.
Yes,
Hey,
thank
Dan.
you for being here, Daniel. Now, those of you who watched last week will remember Daniel was our guest last week, and Daniel has gone into the panel to join the show as well. So welcome, Daniel. It's the first time you've been on panel, but we're so excited to have you.
Thanks, Yvonne. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. And who else have we got? Hello, sir. You're mute. There you
Good
go.
evening, good evening, good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, Thea. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm all right, you know. It's good to see you.
And you, nice to see you, Des.
And you too, Theo.
Blessings, brother.
Okay, so guys, you've been hearing the conversation in regards to toxicity. I'm going to give it, I don't know, 15, 20, and then we're going to jump on your shoes.
Promise?
Absolutely promise, yeah, because, you know, there's two women here, or there's myself and Michelle, and I'm sure Michelle likes shoes like me, so we want to hear about your shoes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's going to change our lives as well, you know. Yeah, so okay, so guys, we're talking about toxicity. Does anyone want to jump in and ask a question while we're here? Who wants to go first? Who wants to take?
I have a very simple question for Des. Des, I know you've done a lot of inner work on yourself and you've read lots of literature. So just a very simple thing, is there any kind of book you would recommend so that people can understand, or a woman can understand a man, and a man can understand a woman? What kind of book would you say that they should read for this understanding?
Great question, Dan. There's one book that I recommend, and the reason why I recommend this book, I remember when I was married, I saw this book in Waterstones on the shelf, and I was married, and the title said, "Are you the right one for me? Are you the one for me?" And it was a book, that was the name of the book, and it was by Barbara DeAngelis, and she has 20, 30 books out there, and it's the type of book, it's the first self-help book that I read, but it was one of those books that you knew that the book was talking to you. You know that type of book?
Yeah.
Where there's tests on there, there's questions in there, and all her books. I think she was married to John Gray as well. She's an ex-wife of John Gray, Daniel. But all her, that I've read all her books. I think there's books like 100 things that men need to know about women and vice versa.
Right.
And I guarantee you read her books, it just hits home with you about, oh, that's my stuff. I need to deal with that. Oh, that's why I've been attracting that type of person in my life. And it keeps the Are You the One for me? It's not just for women, and it's for both people. But it gets you to deal with. I mean, she touches on, and I know you was covered on letting go, Daniel, but she was talking about why we do stay in toxic relationships and why, when the signs are there, why do we choose to stay in it? And she addresses it by saying that what we do is we minimize the importance of it. We minimize to something that is that big. We subconsciously say, oh, it's not that big, but then it keeps happening, and we keep doing it, and we keep doing it until it's just too much, and then we explode. But we are not paying attention to those early warning signs. I guarantee this, that you most probably agree with me. Previous relationships that didn't go down too well, I bet the warning signs were there for all of us in the first 3 to 6 months. And we've then chosen to ignore it and stay there for whatever the reasons are, because at the time, to us, it felt the right thing to do.
Okay, thank you.
Good question, Dan. It's a good book. It's a good book. I said it to all my clients to read it. And then what I said to you was that, what did you learn about yourself? I'm not interested in the exes. I want to know about you. You're my client. What did you learn about you? Because it's a closed question. Because when the focus is then on the client, what did you learn about yourself? They have to tell you. And if they're not going to read it, or they don't want to work on themselves, they're not going to grow. They're just going to be in the same place all the time.
Be stagnant. It's great. We've got here, there's a book called Men Are From Venus. Women are, it keeps moving. Okay.
Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. There's that book, but this one identifies with the John Gray one, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. It just tells you how men and women brains are different, and how we react to different situations. And the cave is talked a lot in there. But with Are You the One for me, it gets you to look at if you've met somebody, what are the warning signs there in the beginning, or it gets you to look at why you've made the mistakes before in the past so you don't make them again in the future. So it prepares you for that. I've read it several times. There's an audio version as well, but the book is a really good book. Are You the One for me?
I think we've got Facebook users saying, act like a man, think like a lady, Steve Harvey. But I think that's slightly different, because that's more about dating and getting the one that you want, rather than you taking responsibility and actually becoming whole within yourself. And take, because if you want a relationship to work, you have to take 100% responsibility for yourself first.
That's right.
It's never about the other person. And we're so quick. I think we mentioned this last week. So quick to say, oh, you did this, you that, and you're the other, and you never tell me that I look nice, and you never do this, and you never do that, and you never cook, and I come in from work, you're always sleeping. But it's not about that.
You never let me watch the football when it's on.
Yes, try to tell it out the window. No.
I mean, man to man, I thought I'd just put this out there, but why is it then when there's a game on and men are watching the football, and then, I don't know, the woman always times it perfectly to walk across or to walk across the TV when it's a one-on-one? Sorry? Why is it? They must have some. They have some skill. There must be some skill that they do, because I've experienced that hundreds of millions of times, and that's why we need the cave, didn't we, Daniel? Just so that impossible for that to ever happen, and lock the door. I'm joking, by the way, everybody. Don't shoot me.
Many a true thing said in jest, they say. Okay, but I think. But women say the same thing about men. When I'm on the phone to my friends, you want to have a conversation with me. What's that about, kind of thing. So, it swings and roundabouts. I think we just really need to learn to communicate and just say, do you know what? Let me cut this man some slack. And he said, let me cut this woman some slack and see if we can just live in harmony. Because I think that's the point, to live in harmony. And harmony doesn't mean that it's 50-50 either. It means there's balance, that each party is happy with what they're getting. It may not be 50-50, but they're happy in moving forward in their way. So I'm going to go to somebody said I think that's to answer your question because they want attention. Why women walk across when you're watching football. Really?
Maybe, or it could just be that they just have some skill, some knack of just it's always the point where we got to do this and then we miss the goal, and then after that you don't hear from they don't never do that for the rest of the game. It's only the one-on-one, the most important part of the film. I noticed Daniel hasn't agreed with me, but I know we've had conversations, Daniel, and I've recorded them all. I could get my phone out and play it to the audience now.
Miss Young says, "Well, it's to make sure that you know that we're still there."
But we know you're there. We know you're there. We know you're there. We can see you over there, or we can hear you.
Oh, Laura Hill says we want a cuddle. LOL.
Half time, my dear. Half time. That's what half time's for.
Oh, I'm going to bring in Michelle because I'm sure Michelle's got something to say on this. Okay, Michelle, come in.
I don't think I should say anything about the football because that could get a little bit off the point. So I'm going to stick with the toxicity in relationships. And I do have a question for Des. Earlier on, Des, you mentioned about asking about their relationship with their parents, somebody that you might be interested in. And I want to ask you this. Sometimes the relationship with parents can be perceived negatively by a potential or a new partner due to the toxicity of the parents themselves. And therefore, the individual might decide to withdraw themselves from their relationship with their parents. And what happens if that person has already had therapy about it, reflected on it, tried to work on it, and the best thing for them to do was to remove themselves from that situation with their parents, and you're asking, what's your relationship like with your parent? What would you suggest the person does in that situation?
Right, if me and you are dating and you asked me that question, I asked you that question, what was your relationship like with your father? And like you said, you had to remove yourself from that situation, whatever the reason is, and you was working on yourself and you're getting therapy from that. I know for a fact that not everybody would have experienced that. So what I am saying is that in relation to that, if you then was in that situation where you had to remove yourself and you was getting therapy from that, what I was making reference to is the average person that is not aware, hasn't removed themselves from that situation, and they're subconsciously carrying it on. Now, if that was you, and I don't know, me and you were dating, and me and you was dating now, and you said that to me, and you was working through it, then I'd look at you in a different perspective, look at you in a different light, because you're owning it and you're working through it. But it's the people that are not aware, and they're parking their issues, that don't want to deal with it, and then what then happens? Then they get upset about something, and their partner triggers it. And like I said, if you went to therapy, the therapist is going to go straight back to your childhood and look at why are you removing yourself from your parents? You know, what happened? Because obviously, if you've removed yourself from that situation, something bad happened while you needed to feel to do that. The therapist would go and the therapist that you was dealing with would have dealt with that. But how do you know you've dealt with it in a place until you've been tested, until you get triggered? And the only way you're going to know is when you're in that environment.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. How about answer your question? Good. Congratulations on Brentford. You must be happy beating Arsenal.
We're after you next, but that's another conversation anyway.
That wouldn't be a conversation to have, really. There's no point in even.
We'll see after September 25th.
Brentford's going to beat Liverpool, Dan. Take her off. Take her off. Now she's talking nonsense on the show. Take her off.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Just joking. Don't kill me.
Oh,
what about love?
Yeah, and football. Love and football. This is what we get when Des comes on the show. The thing is, we've got Daniel, who's a Liverpool supporter, Des, who's a Liverpool supporter, Theo, who's a Liverpool supporter, and Theo over here. Theo, what are you saying? Because I'm bringing you in anyway.
I'm a Tottenham supporter. I got nothing to do with that.
Oh, he says he's a Tottenham supporter.
Nothing
And
to do with
Facebook
it.
users saying, "Go on, Liverpool. You'll never walk alone." There you go.
We always beat Tottenham anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's why I said I got nothing to do with it, man.
Oh,
I got
no,
nothing to
no.
do with it.
Move on to the toxicity.
that's a toxic team in itself. So hey,
Oh Lord. Isn't it? Football, oh dear. Yeah.
It's what men do. We talk about these things, you know, and then women get upset because we love it. This is what we do. This is our thing.
you know what? There's I was
It's
gonna,
so not true.
gonna comment on that because we love it. It's called jealousy. When they walk across the screen, it's called jealousy. It is because they'll be showing passion and love at that time. They're getting. What about me?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Wow.
It's
Wow.
like a clash, as someone said. It's for attention. At that particular time, we're watching football. You want my attention then, and before it, you didn't want it. After it, you don't want it.
That's right.
Because
when the game's finished, you don't see them.
I'm just curious that out of any women listening to this who are honest, would they say they've ever done that to walk across because they want attention?
Look at
Right.
Look what's going on here. We've got Arsenal. We've got someone else saying, "Come on, Liverpool, P. Scott." What is going on with the show?
Sorry.
Do you know what we're
The
going to
question
have a
is,
show on football?
Right.
the question is, did I get the attention? That's the
Yes.
question.
No, you won't get it.
Yes, I did.
Oh,
Did you?
well done.
Because you had him on the manners.
It depends also what you were wearing when you walked across the screen.
Or it depended what the score was at the time as well.
So what's Theo saying?
Say that, Theo. Go on.
I said it depended on the score as well, because this team was losing, then yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's possibly why. But if it was a Champions League Cup final, you couldn't nowhere on this earth you
Right.
could be able to have changed his Man United.
Listen, we are going back to the subject because we've got Man United on here and all kinds of stuff going on the thread. You know,
She said, "Look, Lolly said yes, I have in the past."
yeah.
There you go, Daniel.
So I think
Thanks, Lolly.
so from that question, as you know, I think in terms of getting the man's attention, I think it depends on what you're wearing, and how you go about getting his attention in front of that game. So there.
Right. So can I just ask, Mish, why did you feel that you needed to get his attention? And who was playing the game? I'm only joking. But why did you feel you needed to get his attention?
You're not joking.
Because I could. And that
Because
was
what?
it.
Wish you could.
Because I could.
Yeah, but what did you gain from that?
I can't tell you right now.
This is an open, mature
Excitement.
excitement. This is a mature audience.
Let's put it this way. He married me.
Wow.
Okay.
So any man that's going to date Michelle, don't be watching football in front of her because you'll end up marrying her after half time.
No, it's easy now because I'll be at the match. So there's no walking in front of anything anyway. So it's all good.
Oh, that's good.
Right. So we got a comment here. I'm bringing back the show because we still need to talk about your shoes. Christine Douglas says, when a therapist goes back too far, it's not always positive. They are doing Carl Rogers' theory, and I think it can be quite dangerous if the person can't remember what happens and makes up their own ending. What do we have to say to that?
Well, that's a possibility. But then what I say to people is that if it's all well and good saying don't do X, then come with a positive solution. Okay, then if it's not therapy, then what? And that's what I always say. When someone says that, okay, that could happen, but then if that is not good for them, then what alternative is there?
Sometimes I think because what comes to mind in my mind is hypnotherapy. So I'm a hypnotherapist, right? And what comes to mind is that when you take the person back, those images that they have are their own, sometimes their own stories. So when you take them back, a good therapist, whether they're a hypnotherapist or just a therapist, will take them through a process where they can start to identify that they're actually making up their own story. And then they can then create a new story to bring them forward into their future so that trauma is no longer the thing that holds them captive or holds them bound in their life. So if it's a trained therapist, I'm just going to say this, if it's a trained therapist that knows what they're doing, that person is supposed to be able to walk out of that situation free.
And also, if a good therapist will be able to identify it's a story or not, or it's real.
Yeah.
Because they're going to say, okay, from the last session we went back, and if they start changing it, it's no consistency. Then they're going to know that they're making it up.
Yeah, and we got to understand as well, because sometimes things happen and we bag it. And I'm going to just use this one scenario that happened a few years ago actually, and it was at my daughter's school, and there was an old student that was going to therapy, and because the therapist took them back in time, because there were certain behaviors that the child was a teenager child now, but there was some certain behaviors that wasn't quite right. And so what happened was the therapist took them back, and what they found out was that the child was actually being abused by the headmaster in the school, and it just blew the whole cover on a paedophile ring. So for me, I think it's important if a person knows what they're doing, and a person is coming for healing, and they are a therapist, they're qualified, you check them out, you know what their credentials are, I don't see anything wrong with going back, as long as the therapist is able to bring them back to the future. It's when a person is taken back to their past and left there, that is where the issues comes in to the situation. So you've got to know what you're doing. I don't know if Daniel wants to interject there, because I know Daniel does letting go.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that point. I think, sometimes going back into a past can help, but only really if you don't get involved in the stories as well, and the stories in the mind, and then you add energy to that in a negative way. Going back into the past, if you're going to do it, has to be done constructively with a purpose as well. And it doesn't always have to be done as well, but yeah, I definitely think, 100% you've got to come back to the present moment. That's because that's really where we do the healing, is at the present moment. You bring up the past to see what's there, how you truly still feel about it in the present moment. And that's really important to understand, I think.
Okay, thank you, Daniel.
Also,
thank you,
Yvonne. I think it's also quite important that, if considering that we're talking about toxicity in relationships, if you are thinking about choosing a therapist, it is important to do your research and find out what techniques therapists use, because different therapists use lots of different techniques, and you have a duty towards yourself to find out the types of techniques they use, whether or not that's going to be useful for the sorts of things that you think that you want to examine when you're with that therapist. Other things obviously may come up, but it's a good idea to do that. And if you go to the associations and like the Black therapist networks and things like that, you will be able to find out what it is they actually use and what they're qualified in.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mish. Appreciate that.
There's one question that I'd want to ask Des as well, because there tends to be a stigma attached to therapy. So what would you say to people who have perhaps want to introduce to go down that route but are not yet ready to see like a therapist? Is there some sort of in between where they are now and then a therapist, where they can gradually go into it? Because people say, I don't want to see a therapist. It's just, what would you say, Des?
That's a good point. And I would say reading. Not everybody likes to read. I mean, I never used to read until after my divorce, believe it or not, and I've got hundreds of books. But if somebody doesn't like to read, they may want to. I always say to people, whatever issue. So let's say somebody that's lacks confidence, for argument's sake, and someone's lacks confidence, has low self-esteem, doesn't believe themselves, lack of self-love, then, and they know that they want to go to therapy. That's such a big step. But maybe listening to Louise Hay listening to Louise Hay is a good step, because then it gets them prepared for that when they go into the therapy, because within the her coaching, what she's giving the personal development and all of that, she does make reference to, if you feel that you're in this place, then seek help. If you're in this place, then it's like it's nice and cushioned, because you get connected to her, because you feel that she understands you, and that person needs someone that they can relate to, that they can understand. There's some books that we've read that were crap, and there's some books that you just want to read and read and read and read and read all the time, and listening to that. But that will be a good step. Or speak to somebody that they trust and they respect and they know. I usually say to people that are single, speak to someone that's living the life that you want to live, or speak to someone that they're going to give you a neutral, honest answer, and not just tell you you're right when you're wrong as well.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good question, Dan.
Thank you for those questions. Right, so do we have any more questions before? Because I do want to delve a little bit more into this, but I know that we need to talk about the shoes. Yes, we do. So do we have any more questions, guys? No? I thought Theo was going to move then.
I was gonna ask. It's not more a question. It's more what would I say? In terms of relationships. So you were saying about the men and women in a relationship earlier, but I don't think you went deep into it about, like, say if in a relationship about two people being toxic and they're together, the men, and because we kind of looked at it kind of from one person and the other person, but so how would they be able to get themselves out of that situation? So they're constantly arguing. It's just, it's just a mess basically, but they can't see it, or they don't understand it, or I don't know. I'm trying to phrase it in a way.
Yeah, I know what you're saying is if one person keeps seeing it's black and the other person keeps seeing it's white, no communication, and I think we've all been in relations like that, some more than others, and you just find that you just can't get through and you're hitting it. The only way that I suggest, and I think I mentioned that earlier, is to get help, is because you're stuck there. You're not. If you're in that place, you're not going to say, well, I'm going to read that book and help my relationship, because you're angry with that partner and you're blaming that partner, and they're blaming you. You're arguing. You're guaranteed that's going to be taken into the bedroom. So nothing's going to be going on into the bedroom, and then you're drifting apart. So the only way to deal with that is both for you to get help and get therapy, counselling, or whatever. And as Mish said, make sure you get the right one that fits within how you two are, because there's different types of therapy. There's therapy that will help you, and there's therapies that could just mash you up with stress. So it's just a matter of, and then finding out, do your research, and maybe it was a good point that Michelle said, but if that was me and you, and I'd say, right, this is the situation I'm having with Yvonne, what would be the first steps? What would be the first steps that you would advise us to move forward? So I've got an idea of how you work. And then based on that, I can then make a decision, and then ask about 3 or 4 other therapists the same thing. And then because they want to sell themselves to you, so they're going to tell you how they work. So then you're okay. Those 3 are not really fitting with us, but that one, I like that one. And sometimes it means culturally, Asian people won't want to go with Asian therapists, which is really important. The race usually help because they get it. When I was going through my divorce, my ex-wife was Jamaican. My parents were Jamaican, but our therapist was a posh English woman. And there was things in our culture that are sort of norm to us that wasn't the norm to us. For example, growing up, we used to get slapped and beaten by our parents growing up. When we was talking about that in the therapy, she goes, "Oh my God, you can't be doing that. It's against the law." And to us, it was the norm when we was younger, growing up. So if that was a therapist who came from the Caribbean background or our background, they would have understood that. So I mean, there would have been
so there's more comfortability with when you find somebody that looks like you or represents what you know, or has
they can relate to
they
it, yeah.
relate more, and it's easier. You're more comfortable. You can talk and be more open.
But supposing they don't, but would you recommend because remember they've got to deal with their own self, as you said before, about their self-reflection. So going to therapy together is going to work on the relationship, but it's still not going to deal with the person. Would it be recommended that they go separately to 2 different therapists to deal with themselves first before they go to relationships?
That's a valid point. But do you remember when I said about me when we went to therapy because let's be honest now. When you're in that place, then think about a time when you was in a toxic relationship. You're not really going to want to say you want to work on your stuff. If you take yourself back to that place where you was just blaming that partner, because what we do is we say, I ain't got the problem. It's you. You're the one with the problem. So why? Do you understand? So why am I then going to say, well, if I'm blaming her, I'm not going to go and deal with my stuff. You need to deal with your stuff. I remember when I stepped in my past relationships, and I was very transparent, and I had unresolved issues. And then I had a girl say to me, yeah, you got issues with your mum and all that. And I say, yeah, that's right. What about you? And then when he comes back to her now, it's like, oh, because I've admitted it. I'm not denying it. So when you're in that mindset, you're not going to be sitting there thinking, Theo, well, you know what? I'm blaming Yvonne. She made me do X, Y, Z. I'm going to go and work on myself. No, I want her to go and work on herself, fix herself for me. That's how we're thinking when we're in that place. So maybe it takes when you go to the therapist can then say, actually, Yvonne, you had some childhood trauma. What do you think that's contributed towards your? And then when someone neutral is balanced and not taking sides, and you're able to express yourself, because if you think about it, when you're in that toxicity on a daily basis, you're not listening to the other person. You're just arguing, and we've all been there. It's horrible. You're talking over because we want to win the argument, and all of that stuff's going on. But when you're in an environment where you're listening to that person, and then the therapist is there balancing it, essentially, how do you think he or she feels when you do that? And then actually, you know what? I never thought of that like that. And then it all comes down to the number one thing: how badly do you want this relationship to work?
Thank you.
Good question.
Can I just say something as well, please? Earlier, Des, you said something about normally when we go to therapy, it's because we're in a bad place. And I do think that, or within a relationship, within a toxic relationship perhaps, I do think it's important that we try and move on from that, and that we try to realize that we always need to replenish ourselves, and we're all on a personal journey. So it is useful to have therapy regardless anyway, because you're working on your best self. And so if you can either have therapy or some sort of group session or some sort of network that's a support network, it's all good. And then if you find yourself in a situation where you're in a toxic relationship, then you can go for something more specific should you have the need. I'm just very conscious at the moment, as Yvonne mentioned, that there's a lot of suicide and mental health issues and all of these things coming up. And so perhaps it's something that we need to really look at anyway, about introducing therapy as more of a norm than it has been seen, especially in our community in the past.
And I agree with you. I'm still getting therapy, and I wouldn't say I've got a whole load of issues, but when I come for my therapist, I love it because I'm speaking to somebody that, one, I feel heard. They're not judging me, and I can let go of my whatever I have. But I was talking more in the context of if people are in a relationship where, like the question that Theo asked, the only thing I can suggest is they need to get help to help that. And no, when you want to get therapy, I get therapy because I know the value that it can bring to me. But there's people out there that are petrified of doing that. There's people out there that if they had that conversation with a professional, they wouldn't have committed suicide. They wouldn't have committed murder, especially with our community, with the youths out there. They're just reacting. They have no coping mechanism on how to deal with what they're dealing with because they're just reacting. And I mean, we could go down and open up a can of worms with that, but it all comes back down to the person, to the self, to the person, to deal with what they're going through and seek help. And if therapy doesn't, I'm not saying therapy works for everybody, but it's a positive way of sorting out what you've got going on in a positive way. Because other than that, you're just going to stay. I bet there's people that we know, family and close friends, that you know that they need to deal with their stuff and they're not dealing with it. Yeah, you can see it clearly.
And just walking around in anger.
Yeah.
I think, you know, in terms of therapy, you get whatever you put in, it's what you get out.
Yeah,
is what you'll get out. And I think it's very important that if you are thinking about going into therapy, that you have the mindset that I'm going to do this for my best good, so that I can reach my highest self. You know, it's all about us growing and becoming bigger and better with our own selves, so that we can create the relationship that we want outside of ourselves. I think so many of us are so quick to jump into a relationship with other people, and we don't even like ourselves. We don't have a relationship with ourselves. And so I think, and this is why the retreat is going to be so powerful, because it's going to deal with relationship of self first and then with others, because you have to lay the foundation. You cannot build a house on sand and expect it to stand. It will not stand. And so we have to lay the firm foundation. And if we, as the elders now of the communities around the world, if we cannot create that platform, create that foundation, then heaven help us. We have to start with, it starts with me first. And that's something that I always talk about. It starts with me first. And then after I deal with me, then I can help others. And that's the process of life, as far as I'm concerned, I think. So I want to thank you guys, but I just really want to turn, because I know that the time is far spent, as the elders would say.
Wow.
What are we on?
1:45.
Wow. Anyway, so Des, we're going to have you back again. God, no.
No. Not by the comments on there. They're saying, give me his address, I'm going to go around and kill him.
No, they didn't say that. They didn't say that. So Des, I want you to tell us about your shoes. And the reason why is because you have an event coming up on the 11th of September. Really excited about this. And I guess you're excited about it as well. And you are doing like a fashion show competition type of thing at your event. So tell us a little bit about the event that you're putting on in the day, and then move to the evening and talk to us about shoes.
Yeah, in the day, I'm holding my 8th Women in Business conference. There's about 17 speakers, including you. So come and see Michelle speak. Not Michelle, Yvonne. Yvonne Michelle. Yeah. You get that all the time, don't you? Everybody. Yeah.
People call me Michelle all the time.
Just change your name to Michelle. It's easier. So what we're doing there is this is my 8th one, and why am I doing an event for women in business? Women were not getting the opportunity to speak on stage, predominantly run by men. And I've just held 8 events, and usually have about an average 15 speakers. Daniel's spoken at a few of my events as well. So that's taking place in the day. There's going to be people talking about, there's going to be some therapists in the room as well. I think there's 2 therapists in the room, personal development, speaking on stage, speaking at my next event, Speak in America, Be Paid As You Sleep, how to get leads, website, branding, you name it, everything, social media. All these speakers are going to be covering that and more in the day. It's free to attend. You just go to www.desoconnors.com and book your free ticket.
Or if you are connected to me, there is a link. There should be a link in the Facebook group, and there is also a link on my Facebook personal page as well. There's links all over, so you can get your free ticket. So Des, so you're doing the Women in Business, and Des's the website, the email was up there. www.
Take off the www, and then we're good to go.
Yeah.
He's put www. That's it.
Take that off.
Yeah.
And there we're good. Wonderful.
That's the email.
All right. Okay. So Des, back to you. So you
in the evening, yeah.
Yeah. So you've run an event for women in business in the daytime, which I will be speaking at. So yeah, come along. It's going to be very good. Right. So yeah, going to shock you all, not really. so, and then in the evening now, you've got another event.
Yeah.
That none of us have seen before.
No.
This is brand new. This is an exclusive. This is like, like way out there. Tell us a bit about that.
So I'm launching my new shoe brand, Des O'Connor Shoes, and that's coming out soon, very soon. And I needed a woman to be the face, leg, foot, ankle, toes of my brand.
Right.
So I decided, well, how am I going to find, who's that going to be? I didn't want it to be somebody I know. So what I decided to do was hold a competition. They call it runway, catwalk audition, or whatever you want. I'm learning a lot more with the fashion industry. So it's free to apply. And they get the opportunity to walk on stage, and there'll be a panel of judges that will be selecting the winner, and the winner will be working with me. Right. And the winner receives a £10,000 coaching package from me, where we'll set them up as a model, or if they are a model, enhance that. Their website, their branding, the whole shebang. We're going to set them all up and go out there. So they're going to be taking pictures and videos all in my shoes, promoting my shoes. And let's say I'm speaking in America, they'll come out into America and walk on stage, because I'm going to be delivering these presentations to women in business networks all over the world.
Right.
So if I'm speaking in Birmingham, she's going to be coming along, walking on stage, because there's a theme behind the shoes, which we're going to get into.
Yeah, we're getting to that.
So at the moment, 100 models, well, originally 250 applied before COVID.
Right.
And then obviously after COVID, we went and we contacted all the women, and about 70 of them wanted to do that still, and another 30 have applied. So the deadline's on September the 5th, because that's when the rehearsals are. So that's going to be in the evening after the event. So what you're going to have is you're going to get the women walking, I don't know, there's going to be, heats, 5-6 heats, and there'll be the final, and then we're going to announce the winner. But the top 6 will all get an award on the night. Are
you the only judge?
I don't know if I'm going to be a judge. I may be hosting it, or may be a judge. I'm in 2 minds at the moment. I'm not sure at the moment.
I think you need to be a judge.
Well, I'm down the middle. I'm not sure. I think I may just leave it to the judges and then speak to them after. I don't know yet. We're communicating. I've got 3 weeks, so it'll come to me.
Because they're your shoes, so you must have an idea of what. Because the judges might choose a model, and she's got hammer type going on. It's not going to look good in sandals now, is it?
The judges are good. The judges are good judges. I trust the judges.
Hammer toes.
Yeah, hammer. Do you ever watch that film?
We call it Flintstone foot.
Yeah, Did you remember that? Yeah,
we call it Flintstone foot.
What's that?
Flintstone's foot.
Yeah, Flintstones. No.
Real drive.
Wow.
Actually, none of them are open toe. I just remembered. None of them are open toe. So the ones with the not nice toes may be able to get away with it.
Might get away with it. Lord have mercy. Facebook users saying, "What's the cost of the shoes?" I hear that there's shoes out there. Ladies pay 3,600. No,
ours won't be 3,600. Maybe 3,500, but not 3,600. It's too expensive. This is all jokes. It's all good fun. No, it won't be. No, I think my shoes will be round about. Because when you see them, you know they're not cheap shoes. So I think around about the 150 to 250 mark. You look at them and say, "Oh, those shoes are worth a couple of £100."
Right. Yeah. Okay. Michelle says, "I'll be a judge, Des."
I'm sure you will. Yeah, give me a call, Michelle. We can discuss it. There you go. I don't know anything about you in relation to. I don't even know what shoes you wear. I've had a lot of people say they want to be a judge just for the sake of getting on stage and being a judge.
I'd be a very good judge.
So let me know. My email's on the screen. Send me an email about why you think you should be a judge, and then we can take it from there.
I think I should be a judge. I've got about 250 pairs of shoes at home. I'm very much a shoe person. Anyway, let's move on, because that's not what I'll be there to do. So your shoes. There is a theme about your shoes. Your shoes are very special.
Yes.
They're not ordinary shoes.
No.
And there is a theme behind each. So we're going to just go through that really quickly. So you've got, I've got them in my order, but I know you've got them in another order in your mind, right? So there is a shoe called the Achieve.
Yes. Shoe number 1 is the Achieve shoe. What we're doing is we're giving each shoe a name. and a theme and a story behind the shoe. And the whole ethos of this whole shoe linked with improving women's lives was that I'm all about personal development and improving people's lives. And we originally was going to set up a shoe with a detachable heel where, you know, you're going to a wedding, you got those black shoes on, you could pop off that black heel and replace it with the same color as that cream top.
Okay.
So the heel
would pop off. You put a new one on,
and it matches that, and away you go.
Right.
That was very complicated to do, so we needed more time because, you know, if you break your ankle, we don't want to be sued and all that kind of stuff. So we had to park that. So I then had to go back to the drawing board and think, okay, how can I make? God, I wanted my shoe to be different. I didn't want it to. Why are you going to buy my shoe as opposed to a competitor? So then we decided to create a shoe which improves women's lives personally and professionally. And then each shoe had a theme and a story behind the shoe which resonates with the woman that's buying the shoe.
Okay.
So what I wanted to do is when a woman orders a pair of shoes of us, she gets instant access to learning products and services that can improve her life. So think of it like Netflix. So ladies, you go and buy a pair of shoes, and then as soon as you order the shoes, you get access to a Netflix style of videos and learnings and courses how you can improve your life. So it might be that me and Daniel and Theo are talking about relationships because women like to hear about men in relation. You know, no matter if they say it, they like to hear about what men talk about in relationships. It might be that Misha might want to be a stylist. How does she become a stylist? So I'll interview a stylist who's a professional stylist on. Well, actually, I have a client who's going to be doing that. So each area, just like when you go to Netflix, you select the genres and all of that. It'll be like that, and it's absolutely free when the women order the shoes.
Okay, so you have to order the shoe to get the free. Okay.
You to qualify, you get that, and that's why we got the slogan of the only shoe in the world that improves women's lives personally and professionally.
Okay. Say that again, that tagline.
The only shoe in the world that improves women's lives personally and professionally.
Fantastic. Okay, so then you got shoe number 2, which is
the Achieve shoe has a tagline.
Oh yeah, you didn't say that. Yeah.
Do
you want me to say it?
Or you got it all in front of you.
Well, that's because you just want me to put my glasses on, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah. I like you in your glasses.
I don't. Right. So the Achieve is for the woman who wants that little bit extra.
Right. So for the woman that wants that little bit extra, and it could be in her personal life, or it could be in her professional life. And when you see these shoes, I haven't got them on me now, but when you see them, you've seen some of them anyway. You like them?
Yeah.
So it's for that woman that wants a little bit extra in her life. And so there's going to be a story behind it. So when you go to the website, there'll be a story because then it'll connect with that woman as well.
Okay, so we're going to go to number 2?
Yep, number 2.
Number 2 is, I've got down as courage.
The courage shoe. Now, the courage shoe is for somebody that wants to have a lot of courage in her life and maybe lack confidence. And the tagline is?
When dreams are only the beginning.
Right. So it all starts from the first step. So then with the shoe, you can give her the courage to make her feel that she can achieve anything in her life.
And that is the courage. That's number 2.
Number 2, the courage. There's 5 pairs, and we're bringing out another 5 next year.
Okay. Number 3, I've got down as impact.
Impact.
Yeah.
So that's for somebody that wants to have a quick, instant impact in their life, that they want to achieve what they want to achieve.
You'll make an impact when you believe.
So you need to believe that you can achieve that. And then if you believe that you can do that, then you can take that first step and go in there for that.
I love that comment, Michelle. Gentlemen on the panel, Christmas is coming. Presents for the ladies. Yes, please.
So what you need to understand there, that's obviously from a woman, but there's lots of football on over the Christmas period, especially Boxing Day. Take note, ladies. Thought I just dropped that one in there.
Well, if you don't want her to walk across you while you're watching football.
Actually, Boxing Day and New Year's Day are 2 days where there's games back to back all day.
Well, so I suggest to you gentlemen to get your wallets out and be purchasing some shoes for the ladies, because they can be practicing somewhere else while you're watching the football. Because we know, ladies, there's many of us who have gone to flats over the lockdown and now struggling with the heels. So we need a little bit of practice. So that gives us a good thing to do while you're watching the football.
And I've got someone that can teach you to walk in the heels if you're really looking for that, because she's teaching all my women to walk on stage at my event. We're having a workshop. So
that's good.
There we go.
Fantastic. Shall we go to number 4?
Number 4.
I've got influence.
Influence. So you need to be influenced in order for you to take that step, that first step as well. What do you need to happen for you to be influenced? And if there's something that can influence you, how are you going to go about that?
This says, for the woman who does it her way.
So that's for a woman that's focused, wants to achieve what she wants to achieve, but in her way.
Absolutely. And so we come to number 5, and it's all about energy.
Everything's about energy.
All about energy.
Everything's all about the energy.
It's no longer a dream when you are wearing energy.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's the 5 concepts. You can just hear the chuckling going on in the studio.
You wait till you see them. They're all different. There's one that has one's a wedge, and it has a glass see-through heel.
Yeah.
You've seen that, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. The Perspex heel.
Yeah. So that's all I'm going to say. But I'm going to take a picture. There's another one. Remember the one with the pretty glassy? I'm just going to start teasing the women on Facebook by just showing them the heel.
The heel. Well, you did a campaign, I think it was last year or the year before, with shoes. Just every so often you kept showing these different types of shoes just to see what the women were saying. And you got a lot of traction on that.
Oh, yeah. Everyone I post this, because I can then go back to them and say my shoes are ready now. I'm creating a Facebook group at the moment for the women, because we're giving away free pairs of the shoes as well. So we're having a campaign. We're saying, hey, who wants a free pair of shoes? And and then we can have a look at it from there.
Did you hear that, guys, ladies and gentlemen? Des, would you like to repeat what you said that you're giving for free?
Sorry, what's that?
What are you giving away for free?
My shoes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to just reiterate that so that
if you want a free pair of my shoes, they're going to be coming out soon. Join me on Facebook. There's going to be a group. Size 5, please. Okay, Laura, no problem. Connect to me on Facebook. And I'm going to be doing some lives, some Zoom calls. I'm going to be showing the shoes, and I'm going to be telling you what you need to do in order to get them. And we're giving them away for you for free.
Michelle says, show walking lessons so we don't walk like Whoopi Goldberg in Ghost.
Well, if anybody needs someone to show them to walk in the heels, I've got someone that can definitely help them with that.
Yeah. So this is all jokes aside, this is a fantastic opportunity. So if you are looking for some shoes, if you want to get involved, if you want to connect with Des, his details are up on screen. They'll come in and out. They'll come back up again. And so this is what Des is doing. So he's using shoes to help women with their personal development. So I think it's a fantastic idea. I think there's quite a few people who have said it's a really good idea to do. So well done for that. And we, guys...
What about men's shoes?
What about men's shoes?
Can't do it all. I used to get the same question asked when I was working with women who were dating. And then I get a lot of women saying, why are you not working with the men? I can't do it all.
Yeah, I know. There are some guys who are working with guys, and one of the things I want to say to guys, one of the things I've observed is that many men don't want to sit on platforms like this. They want to hide, you know, and I don't quite understand why, but I want to encourage the men to come out, just like you're like keyboard warriors in the Facebook group. I'm telling you, some of the men was just dropping things over the last couple of days. I'm like, oh, that's another man. I didn't even know there were so many men in here. And they were just putting their opinions on. So I'm just encouraging you, come out, let's have a conversation. It's good. We don't bite. Well, he does, but I don't. And so as you can see, you know, Des has been here. He survived. This is the second time. Daniel's on the panel. He survived.
I just survived.
Theo's been here, been in the studio a few times, and hopefully he'll be here next week. And so, it's a good place for conversation, and we are forever growing. We are forever evolving, and that is what the show is about. So that just leaves me to say thank you, Des, for coming in.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. It went so quick.
I know.
2 hours.
It just goes. When you have guests that can chat. I'm just winding him up because he was saying I can chat earlier. This man can chat. But when you're having good conversation, it goes really quickly, but it's really good. And I feel that this has to continue. We have to keep having these open conversations for people to grow. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'll thank you for coming in.
Thank you, everybody. I hope it was value.
And do remember that Des has an event on the 11th of September. It is a free event. So do book onto that on that right there.
Yeah, desoconnors.com. The shoes event, the catwalk auditions in the evening. Just go to desoconnorsmodels.com. But you can go to the fashion event on the website and go along there. And it's going to be an after party until 2 a.m. as well.
Oh, is it going on till 2? Okay, wonderful.
So
it's going to be a late night. But with my slippers. Anyway.
and no flats allowed. So if you turn up with flats, the security would not be letting you in, my dear. So get some deals.
The second time you said that, I'll be watching Brentford playing anyway. It's all right.
Evening, my dear. It's an evening event. 7 o'clock.
All right, I'll be watching Match of the Day.
Record it. You got record on your Skybox.
Listen to this. He's not giving up. I think he wants you to go, Michelle.
I'm trying to give her the hints, and she's not picking up, not getting it.
And this
I get it.
Well, that's a whole nother show. That is a whole nother show.
I'm giving her an opening, and she's just shutting the door.
Shutting the door. Yeah. Do you know how many men have said to me that's what a lot of women do? They don't see the signs.
Don't see the signs.
So Theo's there saying yes. They're not seeing the signs. So listen, if you are an expert, if you consider yourself an expert in showing the signs, I want you to contact me. My email address is on the bottom of the screen, info@yvonnemichelle.com. If you consider yourself an expert to teach women to know the signs. Yeah, and
we know
to do that.
We know. Sometimes we choose to ignore. We go over.
Why are you ignoring? Come to the event in the evening. You're telling me you're watching Match of the Day.
Look at that.
See what I mean, Theo? Green light there.
I know. They say they see, but they don't.
It's all about choices, isn't it, Dan?
Indeed, there's
Lorraine Lolly Rollins says good banter.
She's saying, open your eyes, Mish.
Where's the emoji with the eyes? We want to see that.
Maybe she's on a show like that and her eyes are tight and she can't see what's going on. Maybe that's what it is. Open your eyes.
The first time on the first show. Thank you. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, well, it's there. See, isn't that nice and fluffy? Isn't that nice? Yeah. She's accepted it. Lads, there you go.
There you go.
Look, what's wrong with you?
Listen, this is how the show should be. This is what we want to see every week.
But it's the women that are saying to her, "What's wrong with you?"
Look,
it's all right. I'll deal with Lolly later.
The eyes are there.
Do you know Lolly?
Yeah. So the eyes have come out. The emoji eyes have come out. Listen, guys, I want to thank you for joining us this week. We will be back next week. We will have a full panel. We will be doing a red letter, and we will be talking about some of the issues that we've been discussing within the Facebook group in regards to relationships. And then the following week, Laura Hill said, if I'll buy your hat, we'll buy your wedding hat. I've already got a hat here. I'll have to get a fascinator.
Well, it all depends. There's no point getting a hat if a certain person's going to watch Match of the Day. That's the key.
Well, but then you could be watching Match of the Day together because you both like football.
No, but she's already said that if the last man that watched football with her, he ended up marrying her.
Oh,
so that's that's dangerous, isn't it? The signs are there that, you know.
You love it, Des. You love it.
Can't take it anywhere.
I know.
Listen, okay, so we have come to the end of the show because this banter thing could just keep going on and on and on and on. Thanks to Des for being here. Thanks to Daniel. Thanks to Theo. Thanks to Michelle for being on panel. You are always welcome. Daniel, will you come back again? Will you come back?
I would love to, definitely. Yeah.
Lovely.
I can't wait.
Because we have our Red Letter Tuesday, so we have some letters from people who listen to the show with dilemmas, and I think you'd be really, really good at giving some good advice as well. So,
thank you.
All right.
And thank Yvonne. Yvonne Michelle. Change your name to Michelle.
My name is Michelle, though. It's Yvonne Michelle.
Yvonne Michelle. Thanks for Yvonne for hosting another amazing show. You was absolutely fantastic. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're very, very welcome. And I will see you soon anyway.
Yep. Sure.
And you will see Des again, I'm sure. I'm sure you will see him again. And not in his Liverpool shirt. No.
That's an idea.
No.
That's an idea. We've got a new kit.
Can you hear the voice in the background? What you saying over there? No, you're not wearing your
Yeah.
Listen, we're at the end of the show, guys.
When are they playing Brentford, by the way? You said 25th September.
The Theo's saying here, remember to get the tickets. That's what Theo's saying to you, Michelle.
Yeah.
Listen,
we went there last time, and he still wasn't getting it the last show. So
I have my tickets.
He says she's got. No, he's saying he wants a complimentary ticket and to come with you.
Do you know he has to join the queue? Plenty of them want that.
Oh,
Hey.
in demand.
See, another eyes closed there.
Oh, look. Are the eyes closed, Michelle? I don't know. Listen, we're at the end of the show. We've got to go, right? We'll be back.
I give up.
Tuesday, next Tuesday between the hours of 9 and 11. We will be back for another After Dark conversation. We will be here. Theo, are you making it in the studio next week? Can you come in?
I should be able to, yeah.
Yeah, so it will be myself and Theo, and we've got full panel, and we're going to have an open and candid conversation.
Simone saying, no, stay.
Simone, take care.
Too late, Simone. You just come on now, love.
Thank you for being here. No, we can't stay. We've got to go.
Liverpool kiss KMT.
Kiss my tea. Listen, you lot stop writing stuff on the threads. We're trying to go here. Listen, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. Much love to you all. Take care. Be safe. God bless. Ciao.
You ready? You got me running. Shake it, shake it, shake it.